The shooting phase. My favorite of the phases, because you get to shoot at things. It's always really fun. Say we have two guys, you're obviously much, much larger than my guy. This is the difference between an Imperial Guardsman and a Space Marine in power armor. Huge difference. Shooting phase, you've got all your dice there. A normal shooting attack is going to follow the shooting profile of your weapon, right? So you'll look here under the weapons, find the range. That's how many inches you have to be away from somebody to shoot it. It has a strength, which now is actually when we're going to start going over strengths and toughness and what they mean, how important they are. An AP, which is armor penetration. Let's go over that real quick. If your armor penetration number matches or is lower than the armor save value on a unit profile, then they do not get to take their armor save. Does that make sense? Okay. So your sorcerer automatically has an armor save of 3+, right?
Yes.
So anything you find on that list that has an AP of 3 or lower, so 3, 2, or 1, he does not get to take an armor save against, which most of the time means he just dies. Okay. My Imperial Guardsman here has flak armor, which is pretty much a cardboard box he put over his shirt, which is just a 5+, and almost everything on your list has 5 or higher. The only things that really don't are things that don't have any AP. I don't think you have any AP 6 on that list. Most weapons are higher than that by a lot. Nope, you do. Your frag grenades are AP 6. So frag grenades on your list are the only things I would get an armor save against, which is why I have so many people compared to yours. Because so many of my guys just die. Your weapon on your sorcerer, however, you would have to turn way back for. Let's go ahead and go back to this beginning spot. Find your chaos artifacts are on page 69. That's an awesome thing about this book is it's pretty. Find page 69. You know what? I don't need to turn your pages for you. You're a grown man. Alright, page 69. Find his weapon that I have him equipped with. Is called the Burning Brand of Scalathrax. You got it. Okay, so the weapon profile there has a range of template. That doesn't make any sense to you. It is a fire template. These are flamer attacks. I have a set over there for you. These are for any flame-based attacks like flamers, heavy flamers, Burning Brand of Scalathrax. You have a flyer that has something called a torrent weapon, which basically lets you send this thing 12 inches away, which is awesome. So in the shooting phase, let's go over these because these are the easiest to go over. You take it, you put it anywhere on your base, and you see how many guys you can hit. So let's say I have a full squad of troops here. They're all cuddled up because it's sleep time and they forgot their sleeping bags. Or whatever reason they might be that close. I don't know why I would ever do that. But you put your flamer template over it, and you look over the top of it, and you figure out how many you can hit. In this case, you hit all 8. Sweet. Now, let's go over what toughness values mean. And you won't remember all this. I don't remember all of the wound chart. But basically, you auto-hit with a template weapon, always. However, you can never shoot a template weapon if you are snap shooting. Okay? Which is like if you go to ground, and again, rules we'll cover later if they come up. But when you're rolling to look for the strength of that Burning Brand of Scalathrax, what is it?
4.
It's a 4, and it's AP 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's Assault 1, Torrent, and Soul Blaze. So let's go over the Torrent rule because it's probably one of the coolest rules in the 40k universe. You can be 12 inches away and still hit with a flamer. Alright? That's huge. Because normally, a regular flamer, you have to be up in my face like this. You have to be really close to me. 12 inches is a long distance in the 40k universe. Very, very tough. 12 inches is the maximum distance you can even charge a person. So, I'm telling you, it's awesome. So you have the Strength 4, AP 3, torrent, soul blaze thing. So you hit 8 guys. What you do now, since you know you hit 8 guys, you pick up 8 dice and you roll them. Now my toughness is 3, and when you're looking to wound something, you compare your strength to their toughness. If your strength matches their toughness, so if I had toughness 4, you would be wounding me on a roll of a 4 or higher. I am toughness 3, so you're wounding me on a roll of 3 or higher. It has nothing to do with my number of toughness. It has everything to do with the fact that you are 1 strength higher than my toughness value. So if I was toughness 6 and you had a strength 7 weapon, you would be wounding me on 3s or higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the same goes the reverse order. If you have a strength 4 weapon and I have toughness 5, you're wounding me on 5s. And the highest you can go is 3 higher than the equal amount. So like, for example, a model with a strength of 4 can wound up to a model with a toughness of 7. That's what I'm trying to say. So basically, because toughness 7 is 3 higher than 4, that's the highest it can go. If I'm attacking something with toughness 8, I can't wound it with a strength 4 weapon. Period. It's too strong, the armor's too good, whatever the reason is. If it's 3, if the toughness is more than 3 higher, you cannot wound it. And so basically you have you wound on 4 if you're equal, you wound on 5 if they're 1 higher, and the next 2 you would wound on a 6 plus. Same thing goes for going down. When it's equal, you wound on a 4. When it's 1 less, you wound on a 3. When it's 2 less and lower, you wound on a 2. Wounds are always missed on a roll of 1. Period. Okay, with the exception of armor penetration, which we'll get to later. Right now we're just focusing on wounds on infantry. So go ahead and roll the 8 wounds just so you gotta get a feel of what it is. You need 3s to wound me. Bam, bam, bam. So anything that's not a 3, you got 3 1s or 2s. So I've got 3 guys still alive. Awesome. That gives me a good segue. And basically every wound is taken from the closest model back, except for in special cases that are not even relevant to us in this particular game. So we won't even go over them. Those guys don't go right there. Now, I have 3 little bitty tiny veteran guardsmen left. They each have what's called a las gun, which is a rapid fire weapon, which means that it has a 24-inch range, and rapid fire means when you're within half the range, you get to shoot twice. And I tell you that because that is a rule for you, because your Chaos Marines do have bolt guns, which are rapid fire weapons. So I am within 12 inches of your sorcerer. Normally wouldn't be because you would be way back here because you're torrent, but for the sake of this, I just want to see if I could even wound the sorcerer. That's going to be important later. So I have 6 attacks. I am ballistic skill 4, which means that, okay, the ballistic skill is huge on this. Like I told you before, ballistic skill 1 is basically snap firing. You have to roll a 6. And it goes up from there. Ballistic skill 2, you have to roll a 5 or higher to hit. Ballistic skill 3, you have to roll a 4 or higher to hit. Ballistic skill 4, you have to roll a 3 or higher to hit. And ballistic skill 5, you have to roll a 2 or higher to hit. And again, 1s are always going to be misses. If you have a ballistic skill higher than 5, then rerolls start coming into play, but we don't have anybody on the field that's like that, so we won't even go there. So I have a ballistic skill of 4, which means that I'm rolling 3s to hit. So I'm going to roll those. Boom, I got 4 hits out of my 6 attempts. And what is your toughness?
It is a 4.
A 4. Las guns are strength 3, which means I need 5s to wound you. So I got 1 5. They have no AP, which is armor penetration, so you get your normal 3 up. Armor saves, so go ahead and roll it just so you can get a feel for the armor save. You just pick up that dice and do it. You actually rolled a 1, so you will take a wound. And so basically your sorcerer has what, 2 wounds?
Yes.
So he would be down to 1 wound, and you would indicate that by putting a die by it with how many wounds he had left. And that's the shorthand of the shooting phase, honestly. It's not that complicated. Once you've moved You measure the distance and you shoot. You can always pre-measure in Warhammer 40k. The only thing that I would say is important other than this is you only get one type of save. So if you are in cover and you have an armor save and you have an invulnerable save, typically you take the highest save you possibly can. So whichever one is better, whichever one is, I guess, technically lower on the die, but the higher save. So if you've got a 3-up armor save, 4-up invuln save, and you're in a forest, which gives you 5-up cover, you take the armor save as long as you can. But, and how invuln saves work is if the armor penetration breaks your armor, you get to roll the invuln save. So in that case, which he is equipped with, he's equipped with a 4-up invuln save because of the Sigil of Corruption. I say I roll to hit you with an armor penetration of 3 weapon. You don't get your armor save, but you get your invulnerable save. So you get to try to roll a die, and on a 4+, no wounds. And if for some reason I have a weapon that says you don't get an invulnerable save, there are a few of those in 40k, you would get the cover save. And the only exception to the save rule is Feel No Pain, which is not a save, which none of your guys have, so we won't even go over that. Again, trying to keep it as short and sweet and simple as we can. One thing you can do if you're being shot at is you can go to ground, which basically means you hit the deck. You get +1 to whatever cover save you have, which if you're in the open, that means you have a 6+ cover save, which can help you. And that means you are snap shooting on the next turn, and you cannot move. So that's pretty easy. If you lose more than 25% of the models that were in the unit at the start of the phase, so like in this case, I lost 5 guys. If I had lost 3, I would have lost more than 25% of the unit that was left. I have to make a morale test, which is a leadership check, like what we did with your psychic phase. For my Imperial Guard, it looks like you didn't kill the sergeant. It's going to be this guy with the backpack here. So I have a leadership of 8. I rolled 2d6. I didn't get it. I rolled an 11. So what that means is I have to run away. I don't have the guts to stick up and fight you. So I would roll 2d6 again, and I rolled an 8 that time. That's the distance I have to run back toward my table edge. And that comes into play in close combat as well as here in the shooting phase, or even in the psychic phase. If you make me lose enough models to where I've lost 25%, I run away. If I roll terribly on my leadership like I did just now. We've gone over weapon profiles. This is kind of give us an overview of weapons. One thing to note about weapons, if you have a pistol, it counts as a close combat weapon. So, for example, I believe I have equipped your Chaos Space Marines with chain swords and bolt pistols and bolt guns. So that means when you get into close combat, you have 2 close combat weapons, which gives you a +1 to your base attack. Pretty simple to understand that. Most weapons, when you shoot them, you cannot assault, which is charging, getting into close combat after you shoot them. The only way you can is if they have the assault special rule listed in the weapon profile, which you can just kind of read, and those special rules are there under the type. It'll say assault for anything you can assault. The only exception being pistols, which are always considered assault weapons. If you have a heavy weapon, which you do have on your Hellbrute, but because of special rules that he has, it doesn't matter. If you move, you always snap fire a heavy weapon. Pretty easy to remember there. If you have more than one weapon, you can only fire one of those weapons. So like your Chaos Marines can't fire their bolt pistol and their bolt gun. They have to pick which one they're going to fire with. Rapid fire, we've already explained that. If you're within half distance, you get to have 2 shots, or double the shots really, but most of the time it's 2. And that covers everything you need to know for shooting for your Chaos Marines. Any questions, man?
Don't think so. I think it'll be more clear during play.
Sure. The only thing that I will add is this little baby right here is a scatter die. You don't have Well, you do actually. Your helper has a plasma cannon. But I'm going to show you just with the large blast marker because it's easier to see. My big giant Lehman Russ battle tank has what's called an ordnance weapon. It's a battle cannon, and it's a large blast ordnance weapon. Because it's a heavy tank, it can fire the ordnance even if it moves. Normally you can't do that. Basically, I take this marker and I cover your guy with it. And this is with any kind of blast whatsoever. And I pick the place that I want to target. It always has to be over a model. I then roll 2d6 plus the scatter die. Boom. Now, if you have line of sight, that's the only way you can normally fire anyway. But as long as you always have line of sight, you subtract your ballistic skill from the 2 dice that you rolled when you're scattering. Like in this case, I would scatter this direction 2 inches, but my ballistic skill is 3, so I don't scatter at all. That makes sense? So if I had rolled a 7, I would scatter 4 inches and not hit your guy. So it's a risk, but I like taking blast weapons for armies that have a low ballistic skill because otherwise I have to roll a 4 to hit you. And that's hard.